could we get a motion to approve the minutes of June 4th?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of accepting an amended certificate from the Budget Commission.
Are there any questions or comments in regards to item 2? Hearing none?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of request for appropriation of funds.
Any questions or comments in regards to item 3? Hearing none?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of communications from the sanitary engineer regarding customer reimbursements.
Are there any questions or comments in regards to item 4? Hearing none?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of request for appropriation transfer of funds.
Questions or comments in regards to item 5 today? Hearing none?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of awarding bid for Lucasville Lining and Manhole Project regarding the sanitary engineering department.
Any questions or comments in regards to item 6? Hearing none?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of request for fund transfers.
Any questions or comments in regards to item 7? Hearing none?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of resolution tentatively awarding contract for Lucasville Lining and Manhole Project to Instaform Technologies LLC regarding the sanitary engineering department.
Questions or comments in regards to item 8? Hearing none?
Motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of environmental assessment determinations and compliance findings for HUD Assisted Projects 24 CFR Part 58 regarding Kyle Park Apartments.
Questions or comments in regards to item 9? Hearing none?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of resolution authorizing Mike Crabtree, Scioto County Commissioner, on behalf of the Scioto County Board of Commissioners to execute the CARES Act grant regarding the Greater Portsmouth Regional Airport.
Questions or comments in regards to item 10? Hearing none?
Make a motion to adopt.
Second.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of resolution approving the issuance of the Southern Ohio Port Authority of exempt facility revenue bonds, tax exempt series 2020, in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $300 million.
Are there any questions or comments in regards to item 11? We will be referring that to our legal counsel to review prior to agreeing to. Okay.
Motion to accept and refer that to our legal counsel.
And I'll second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of memorandum of understanding between the statewide consortium of county law library resource boards and Board of Scioto County Commissioners on behalf of the Scioto County Law Library Resources Board.
Are there any questions or comments in regards to item 12? Hearing none?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of accepting meeting minutes.
Questions or comments in regards to item 13? Hearing none?
Motion to accept.
I'll second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of resolution supporting Ohio Valley Regional Development Commission.
Questions or comments in regards to item 14? Hearing none?
Motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of communication from Portsmouth Municipal Court regarding electronic monitoring house arrest invoice.
Comments or questions on regards to item 15? Bless you. Hearing none.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of Access Iowa County CARES Act capital replacement, monthly invoice to charter service incidental use certification regarding May of 2020.
Questions or comments in regards to item 16? Hearing none.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of approving payment of regular scheduled accounts for various funds, moral obligations, and the then amount certificates in the total amount of $163,286.50.
Questions or comments in regards to item 17? Hearing none.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of authorizing the clerk to advertise a public viewing and hearing to vacate a portion of Skull Hollow Road and to vacate Chase Road, Boone Township, Scioto County, Ohio.
Questions or comments in regards to Skull Hollow? Hearing none.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of awarding bids for 2020 aggregate materials to be used by the Scioto County Engineering Department.
Questions or comments in regards to item 19? Hearing none.
Motion to approve.
I will second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of awarding bid for 2020 emulsion cutback and primer materials to be used by the Scioto County Engineering Department.
Any questions or comments in regards to item 20? Hearing none.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of awarding bid for concrete and grout materials to be used by the Scioto County Engineering Department.
Questions or comments in regards to item 21? Hearing none.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye. Ms. Coleman, would you have anything to add?
Not at this time, sir.
Mr. Crabtree?
No, sir.
All right. Gentlemen of the press.
Yeah, I have two questions on agenda, and then one off agenda.
Okay.
First, on the agenda, item 10, if you could please answer what is that grant intended for, what use at the airport, and just for clarification's sake, why is Mike the one that has to execute the grant?
That's a really good question, actually.
Well, I said,
Any losses that they would have realized as a result of operations being impeded at the airport during the pandemic, they'll be able to attempt to claim for a grant to replace those lost funds. They lost revenue as a result of different entities that lease from them being shut down, so they'll be looking at that as well as other costs and employees. And then Mike was listed instead of me as the chairman, so instead of asking for a revision, Mike gets to do that.
Okay. Do we have any idea about the amount?
No idea. They'll accumulate that. This is just a simple permission to do so. It's a formality, basically.
Okay, and then on number 11,
Yes.
what will that accomplish? I mean, what will that do for the county for Pure Cycle?
This is huge. We need to review the resolution in its entirety. We need to have our legal counsel review this, but this is for what has now grown into a $300 million bond for the build out of the commercial plant for Pure Cycle. That is the plastic recycling PET plant up in Haverhill. That sits right on the border between Lawrence County and Scioto County. So this is actually to build that facility. So this has grown exponentially since the first time that the Southern Ohio Port Authority got involved with it. So this would be permission for them to do so, to move forward with the bond. We want to make sure exactly where all the responsibilities lie on this and make sure that there is no financial risk for the county. that this is 100% pure cycle and the Port Authority, and we'll proceed accordingly once we look at all of our legal, the ins and outs, cross the T's, dot the I's. We need to make sure that we're going to be good, but we accepted it today. On the face of it, it looks good, but we want our legal counsel, of course, to review it to make sure that everything looks solid and good in order for us to proceed. And then the last I heard, I think they are looking at a closing date in July for that bond.
This year?
Yes, for this year.
Is this a time-sensitive issue as far as?
We'll be able to address this on Thursday of this week as well. Yeah, I mean, we'll get it done. It won't take us very long to review it, but time sensitive, sure, but we've got a little bit of time. We got it, and Robert's waiting for us to get it back to him, I'm sure. But this has been something that's been a long time in the making. It's been something that we've been waiting for a long time. That plant is going to create a lot of construction jobs, and it's going to create a lot of full-time jobs. So it's definitely another boost, a shot in the arm for economic development in this area, and once again proves that that region for heavy industry is just second to none in this region. And of course, with Altivia doing what they did the other day and investing more and more money into their facility, and I loved what they said about it being all about location, 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 with river, rail, access to ample gas and electric, and we're hoping that other companies see that as well. And there's a lot of marketable property up there that we feel like within the next 5 to 10 years, we're hoping that through the efforts of our economic development team, not just here in Scioto County, but regionally, and working with Lawrence County, which we're doing in a great way right now, but also our regional partners with JDISO, with Jackson County and Pike County as well, Ross County. We're going to bring more business to this area, more jobs to this area, and we're doing a lot of work with our sanitary engineer, J.P. Picklesheimer, to get more utilities up in that area, and we're working with Norfolk and Southern heavily to do that. We had conversations with them within the last week. So there's a lot of work being done, and I think that this is going to be the catalyst for bringing great news and great jobs to our area. So we're excited about this. Been working on it for a long time. Port Authority's been working on it for a long time. Robert and Mark and Economic Development's been working on it for a long time, and it looks like we're just about there.
I'd just like to add to, sometimes you hear people saying, well, there's no growth, or what are we doing? Well, I'd like to give a big thank you to Robert Horton and Economic Development.
Yes.
These things do take time, so sometimes it appears that there's not a lot going on, but it's constant, and it's behind doors, and so I can't say enough to Mark and Robert in Economic Development. So glad we brought them on.
They're doing good work. They're doing good work. And you said something very important, is a lot of what they do is quiet. Mm-hmm. And that's because of the people they work with value confidentiality.
Yes.
You have a lot of private companies. They don't necessarily want their business known until it's time. And they are very good at that, and they do a wonderful job of communicating when they need our help. They do a lot of work behind the scenes, and then when it's time for government to get involved, government gets involved. But they do a lot of good work, and you may not hear very much out of them, you may not see very much out of them, but a lot of the work takes a lot of time. It is grueling, and coronavirus has slowed a lot of progress, but they still worked on and continued to plug away. During that time, they continued to do work. So, as is evident here, as well as the Altivia announcement, 11 more jobs, 150 some jobs. When that whole thing broke several years ago, what was it, about 3 years ago? Altivia, Haverhill Chemical closed, Altivia bought them. There was a great risk there of losing that facility and losing a lot of great paying jobs. And I always think about that particular moment. being the time that Scioto County put up a wall and said, no more. We're not going to lose anymore. We've lost enough. We're not going to lose anymore. And since that time, you know, we've gained manufacturing jobs. We've gained jobs in service and retail. And it's never enough, and it's never fast enough, that's for sure. But we were making progress. Corona has knocked us down. It really has. But I think we're going to rebound quickly. I really do.
That's all I had on the agenda.
Okay. All right. Off, or do we want to stay on the agenda? Go ahead. Go ahead. All right.
Just Sin Mackley asking for the amount on line 15.
Sin Mackley, Scioto County Daily News, item 15. EMHA invoice for April 2020. There were 25 defendants on the program for a total of 582 days, with no cost paid by defendants, amount owed by the county, $8,439.
Brian, that's down about 20% from what it
Yes.
usually is, even though
It
we
is.
got nothing in return.
This is true.
So the program must be working pretty well.
True.
Well, to piggyback on that, I know that some of the way some of the law enforcement departments have been handling arrests and things, could that be a contributor to why it's down a little bit? Because I know they're just kind of issuing summons to appear with sentences being issued later, so.
I would imagine so, yeah.
Okay.
Without having any statistics in front of me, I would imagine so. But one good bit of news, and got to follow up this week, hopefully by Friday. Sean Davis did tell us that Common Police Court, even though they can't take any inmates out of our jail, and star inmates still are, you know, we can't get them because of the facilities being locked down still. That's something that the governor has not lifted. That they are putting together their own team. And what they're going to do is they're still going to be those people on probation that have been community sanctioned in one way or another for community service. They're putting those teams together, and they're going to start going out and picking up trash again and cleaning up and doing community service. So that's going to be starting here real soon. They just felt like, you know what, we can't get them out of the jail, but that's okay. We'll put together our own teams with community service, and we'll get it done. And so they're diving into it, and they'll still do the social distancing, they'll do the masks, they'll do all of that, but they should be able to pull that off. So we were really glad to hear that the Common Police Court was moving on that. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I had one off agenda, please.
Okay.
With the change in how COVID cases requiring hospitalization are being reported now, does that change the perception of the effect that the virus has had, I mean, in your guys' opinions, on our area?
That's a great question. When I read about that yesterday, Larry let us know, Larry Mullins, our EMA deputy director, he made it, he did a good job letting us know what was going on. The way I understand it is if you go to the hospital and they test you and you're there for a different reason completely, say you broke an arm or something like that, or actually not broken an arm, but if you've done, something's happened to you that's caused you to be hospitalized. And in the midst of that, they test you and they find out you have COVID, you're automatically, you're a COVID patient. You're put in. I don't know how much it's really going to skew the numbers. I think if anything, it helps us identify, who has it and then treat that person. In this case, they're asymptomatic. They don't even know they have it. They got something else. I think what it does show us is that there's a lot of people walking around with it. I mean, I just think a lot of people have had it.
Which is what Dr. Martin has asserted.
He has. I think we've got, I think herd immunity has definitely kicked in Scioto County, if not other, Southeast Ohio, has not been impacted like other parts of the state. And I think it's because we got it early, and I think a lot of people had it or have had it, worked through it. And we've been blessed. We have been blessed, our area, to not have the serious cases that we could have had. I mean, we could have. So I think it gives us an accurate number. You know, if people go in and they actually get, they're found to have it, and they're doing those automatic tests. You come in, and you're going to be admitted. You're going to get tested because they don't want to throw someone with COVID in with the, for lack of a better word, general population. You know, so it's a good deterrent. So yeah, it pushed our numbers up by 4 or 5, I believe it was, but we still have an extremely low number compared to other areas of the state. And we are doing testing. I mean, we've done over 2,000 tests. In comparison, I think Pike County's done like 300. Now, we're 3 times bigger than them, okay? But still, we've done over 2,000 tests. And then that number even is low because there's so many people doing tests now, they're not tracing all of them. So I still think we have been very, very fortunate, very, very blessed, but we still tell people, look, you know, I know people are out there working, a lot of people have gone back to work, but still people need to be smart. You see, we're still 6 feet. We need to be smart, and in a high population area, you know, if you want to wear a mask, you know. It's being using common sense. We are still in a pandemic. I mean, everybody needs to understand that. But I think Scioto County is, all in all, has done a good job, and call it herd immunity, call it whatever you want to. But I'm proud of Scioto County. I think people have done a good job. We know there's people out there acting like we don't have anything going on, but that's just the way it is. But a lot of people took it very serious early on and did a wonderful job.
Mike, Kathy, did you guys have a comment on that?
I don't think, I just don't think we're going to have a totally accurate number because, like he said, there's others testing now, the delay in getting it to those who do the count. But it's just really hard to say. At this point, our numbers, you know, are lower than others, but as he said, there are people out there that are walking around that aren't even aware they have it. So I don't think we'll really ever have an accurate number. I don't think it's possible. But in spite of that, with everyone doing the things they need to do, and it's under, you know, we're keeping our numbers low, people are doing the right thing. And so that's all we can ask.
Well, people that may have had it that had no symptoms
True.
probably didn't go to the hospital and probably had no reason to have a test because, you know, if they had a strong immune system and they had absolutely no symptoms, you know, I don't take an aspirin myself unless I've got a headache. So, you know, people that absolutely have no symptoms, you know, you're never going to have an accurate count on those. So they may have had it, may have completely went unscathed, and those numbers will never be known. So.
And something else I think everybody needs to understand is the lack of testing, the limited testing we've had is no fault of anybody locally. Ohio ranks 46th, which is sad. That's a sad testimony in testing availability. 46th out of 50. Okay, that's a systemic issue at the state level, and unfortunately, that's the way it's been. But also, doctor-ordered tests. I've been watching the trends. I've been watching this real close. Doctor-ordered tests have went down because hospitalizations went down. We also have to understand that, you know, if someone's not sick, to do that testing on someone that's not sick, that's utilizing a limited resource that could be used on someone who is extremely sick. So,
you know, the western states, Brian, and there are some states where houses are miles apart. And a lot of your western states, you know, once you get past the Mississippi River, they're going to have a lot better record and a lot better numbers than we do because of the situation that they have out there. I mean, you go out through southern Arizona and you can drive for miles and not see a house. It's the same way with all of those states out there. And I think that, you talk about social distancing, you couldn't get any better than that. So yeah. I think that those states, you know, when you look at the high population states like Ohio, Michigan, New York, that you've got a lot more people in a lot less area, you're going to have a worse number. So I don't look at 46 being necessarily that bad for us, because you're going to have a lot of them are going to be automatically in a better situation than we are.
Yeah. You know, and California has been an oddity. That California hasn't had the cases that, say, a Michigan or even Ohio had. And you would think that California would, but it didn't. And I think there's a lot that's unknown about this virus, that whenever they've had time to study it over a few years, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be found out, that things that we thought weren't true. Just for instance, asymptomatic carriers being able to infect others. You know, the WHO came out with that the other day, saying that it's very difficult for someone that's asymptomatic to give it to somebody else. That is exactly the opposite of what we was told a month ago. So it's very interesting to watch the experts figure this out. And this is going to be going on for a year. The only concern is, and you know, I had this discussion with our state representative yesterday, is that when COVID-25 comes out, you know, just hypothetically, COVID-25, I just made that up, okay? But how will people react to it? Say COVID-25 is 10 times worse than COVID-19. Will people react to it because there's been so much about this virus turned out to not be true? And you know, we've hurt our economy terribly. Will people be willing to go down that road again? That's a danger. That's a real danger. And for that reason, we really needed the experts to get things right this time. And unfortunately, there's been a lot of things that have been wrong. And that's why I think it's important for them to get to the bottom of exactly what we're dealing with here, and inform the public and educate the public. Because let's hope and pray that we don't have this in the future in our lifetime, but if we do, that we'll act accordingly and responsibly when that time comes.
And this is the first pandemic, and so there's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And that will help in the future, things that will be in place for future pandemics, if there are.
And I think it's also good to be said, and Larry said it last week when he was here, about how they're accumulating PPE. They're working really hard to get that, because as far as our threat assessment now, you know, pandemic has to be one of the top items. You know, they're doing that now, and before well, look, it was evident. No one was prepared for the size and scope of what COVID-19 presented to governments, and now we're doing that, because you know, they're already telling us this may come back in the fall, so let's be ready. So we're accumulating and stockpiling and getting ready for that if it would come to pass. Let's pray it doesn't. Let's pray it gets knocked out. So.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Just one off the agenda, Nathan Davis asking if there's any more information on the inmate's death.
There is not. I have had several conversations with our prosecutor. I know that he is, of course, reserving any statements, as this is an ongoing investigation. As we said the other day, our heart goes out to the family of Kevin Bailey, of course. Just a very tragic situation, but we don't know anything more than you know at this time. It's important during these times that we let due process take its course. I know BCI is working on it, and I know our prosecutor is very much working with them to try to speed this along. I was encouraged to read in the paper the other day, or I think it was online, could have been in the paper, I can't remember. I have so many sources, where the AG's office had been in contact with the family, and that's good. I think good open communication about where things are important during these times, and I would just urge everyone to try to be patient. I know people are worried, I know people are concerned, but try to be patient during this time while the investigation's ongoing, and hopefully there will be something. They'll come back on that soon. We have not heard anything new. Is that it? Okay. Are we recessing? Okay. Do we have a motion to recess?
Motion to recess.
A second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.